Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 7 on Draftkings. We have our weekly head-to-head battle, the cage match. I've got Derek Carty, the creator of the Bat and the Blitz, is going to be here to try and take me down in the cage. Another new visitor to the cage match. We're going to be playing this for charity. If you play head-to-head games, and Derek is a head-to-head, a cash games specialist, he is not really focused on tournaments, focuses on head-to-head, so this is going to be a very tough match for me. I'm 3-3 on the season, but I've won my last 2 and 3 of my last 4. So I'm coming in with a little bit of confidence, thinking that I can take him down this week. We're going to be playing for $100. We'll talk about the charities right after the bump. But if you play head-to-head games on DraftKings, you know that there is going to be a lot of overlap. It's just the way that it goes. And typically, especially this year, with as much determinable chalk as there has been, a lot of your head-to-heads coming down to like a 1v1, a 2v2. Maybe you only have 3 players different out of the 9 slots that we draft on DraftKings. But in terms of these cage matches, we go back and forth and draft players, and once your player gets picked by the other guy, you cannot have that player. So there's players that come off the board that we don't have access to. It's a very different way to draft. If you are a member of our community here, if you've joined the channel and you're a channel member on YouTube or a Twitch subscriber, you have access to our Discord. Smizzle.tv/links gives you links to everything: the listener league, the Discord, all my socials, everything else. You can join our Discord. There's voice channels. You can cage match against anybody that you want who is also in the Discord. If you wanted to try this format out with your own friends, I suggest it. It's a really fun way to play. It just takes a little bit more time than entering the head-to-head games by yourself. So thank you for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave me a reply down below, share the video, call a friend, say hi to your mom, and let's hit it.
He's a legend.
Hey Derek, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me into the cage this week.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Why don't you tell everybody, I'll go over the charities in just a second. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on social media and where they can find your content?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Derek Carty. You can find my content, my projection system, the Blitz for football, the Bat for baseball, at Rotogrinders for DFS purposes, and at EV Analytics for sports betting purposes.
Fantastic. And so we've got the 2 charities that we're going to be playing for this week. I, as always, will be playing for No Kid Hungry. We are trying to raise $25,000 by the end of this football season, by the end of the calendar year. We just crossed the $14,000 mark. So thank you guys, everybody on YouTube and everybody on Twitch who has taken part in this. We are, we're past the halfway mark. Every $5,000 that we raise, I will be matching $5,000 up to $25,000. So a possibility of $25,000 raised for No Kid Hunger by the end of the year. And Derek is playing for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That's LLS.org. Links to both charities will be down below in the description. Just click show more. The loser will donate $100 to the winner's charity. And as always, my guest gets to choose whether they want to go first or second. Derek has chosen to go first. By the way, join the listener league if you haven't already. $30,000 up for grabs, $10 3 max, and absolutely no rake. So Derek, you're up with the first pick, and then I got second and 2. So talk to me about who you like.
Yeah, I think with the first pick, I'm going to take Darrell Henderson. He's been a great play the last couple weeks, and the price really just hasn't gone up enough. The spot is fantastic. The Rams have the highest team total on the board at 33. They're 15-point favorites. Like, it's a perfect game script for running. He's been very involved in the pass game. Obviously, the touchdown equity is going to be super high, and he's just gotten the bulk of the work. He's been getting 80% of the carries, 10% of the targets-ish. And, really the only concern here is that it's such a blowout that we just get a bunch of Sony Michel, in the last quarter. But, by that point, I would have to think Henderson will have gotten there, and the price is just way too low on him. I feel like he's probably the first guy in this week in your cash builds, and so he's going to be my first pick here.
Makes a lot of sense. I think that he's one of the best values on the board. He's seen so many of the snaps and carries and touches for the Rams running backs, regardless of situation. As long as he's healthy, he's the one that is on the field. Sony Michel and that trade be damned. So going over to my team, I got 2 coming up here. I kind of flagged a few players that I got to get. I kind of feel like it's my brand at this point, and I don't know how we got to this point that this is my brand. But I'm going to take Uncle Lenny at 6,400. 20 carries 2 out of the last 3 weeks in a team that projects to play from ahead when it comes to the second half. High touchdown equity, getting us like a ton of targets. He is the pass game back, not really long down in distance, not 2-minute drill. That goes to Gio, but like 65+% of the running back snaps and touches for Tampa Bay, one of the highest octane offenses with 30-point expectation every time they take the field. So lots of touchdown equity, loads of volume, pass game floor. Give me Lenny, and I've got a second pick here. I'm going to go with a wide out. And all right, you can't take both of the other guys that I think are going to be interesting. So I'm going to go a little bit off the reservation here, I think, with a player who impressed me, not based on his talent, but his talent was something that I believed in coming into the season. But I like the way he was used. And that's Rashad Bateman for the Baltimore Ravens at 3,400. I like value when it comes to cage matches because it allows me some flexibility as we get through the show to kind of do the things that I want to do as we get a little bit later. So Rashad Bateman at 3,400, getting 6 targets in his debut, coming off of the IR against the Chargers in a game where they completely ran away from it. I believe that this game against Cincinnati might be a little bit closer. He basically stepped right into that Sammy Watkins role, and I think that this kid has actual talent. I prefer volume over talent, and if he's getting the volume of snaps and routes and being utilized and deployed the way he was deployed, 3,400 seems like it's too cheap, gives me an opportunity at just, a 9 or 10 point day casually, but way more if he flexes his talent muscles and gets out there and scores a touchdown. So
yeah, I like that. Yeah, especially if Sammy is out this week, and Sammy Watkins was getting a lot of volume. So if he just steps right into that role, it's a nice price for him.
Yep. So again, if Watkins plays, then I downgrade Bateman as like a Sunday cash game type of guy, just for clarity for the viewers that like it's a different situation on Sunday. We draft these on Wednesday. So I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk for value because the downside, if a 3K guy only has like 4 points, it's not as detrimental to a cash game lineup than if a 6K guy has 4 or 5 points. So like I'll take a risk at value, especially on a Wednesday when we're locking these lineups in. So we're back to you for one.
All right. I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp.
He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's been amazing this year. You have to expect some regression coming, but I mean, he's just been getting so many of the targets. And the thing about the Rams is that they're playing so few players. Like everyone is getting like most of the snaps. Like they don't have the way a lot of teams will have like, the 5th wide receiver is going to get some targets and the 2nd and 3rd tight end is going to get some targets and like a 3rd running back is in the mix and a fullback. And it's like the Rams don't have that. The Rams have a small handful of guys that all the targets are going to, and Kupp is the leader of that. And, again, not a great game script for passing, but they're going to put up a whole bunch of points before that becomes a problem. And I would have to think that Kupp is going to be pretty heavily involved in that. He's at home. It's kind of like a semi-dome like situation. And I'm going to lock in Kupp.
Look, he's had 10 targets in every single game this year, getting no look passes thrown his way that are ending up going for touchdowns. His price has come up, but he is a superstar player with a 20-point expectation pretty much all the time. I'm going to go target somebody that I think, again, I like flexibility. I like having the flexibility on my roster, which is leading me to one place, and that's wide receiver right now, because I think that there's enough value for me at running back to kind of wait after grabbing the one guy. But there's just nobody that's available for the Giants. Now with Kadarius Toney missing, they might have another situation where Sterling Shepard, the 3 games that he has started and finished this year, 14 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, only at 5,600. And based on his average depth of target, his expected fantasy points on Draftkings is somewhere around 1.66 or 1.67 points per target. So if I'm getting 10 targets and I have a reasonable expectation of 16.6 fantasy points on a median projection from somebody who's 5,600, I'm going to take it. So 5,600 for Sterling Shepard playing at home, loads of targets. I'm loading up on volume at 2 spots in the mid-range, and I have a little bit of value, which could open up a lot of space for me. So kind of happy about that.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Shepard has been clearly the guy. They're still dealing with injuries. Like, he's going to be getting a whole bunch of this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Who was your first pick again? Just so I can keep track.
I have Fournette, Bateman, and Shepard.
Fournette. Gotcha. All right, cool. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go with a guy that I feel like a lot of people don't really like to play, but I'm on board with him at this point. I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks. I mean, he's just getting all of the targets for Houston. Like, Davis Mills is clearly locked onto this guy. He's getting a higher target share than just about everyone in the league, except for Devontae Adams and maybe Cup. I can't remember, but just so many targets. This is a nice pace-up game for him against a fast-paced Arizona offense. Obviously, a good passing game script because they will be playing from behind. It's in a dome, so the wind to worry about. And I think he's very reasonably priced for just how he projects in this spot. He projects outside of like the obvious top guys. The blitz has him projected as the 5th best wide receiver on the slate at this point. Mm-hmm. It's just such a good game environment and just so much volume that I think 6K is a very good price for Cooks.
Yeah, he was the other wide receiver. So in the first couple of rounds, I was like, well, you're not going to take both of these guys. One was Shepard and the other was Cooks. Like, there was no way for you to block me from taking one of the two. I would have been happy getting away with both of them. So now I've got to find another route that I kind of want to go here. I don't like taking running backs that are on teams that lose, right? And lose a lot and lose often and project to play from behind as much as the Detroit Lions have been playing from behind. But DeAndre Swift has been getting so much usage in the passing game and getting those really valuable inside the 5, and inside the 10 touches that he's ending up scoring touchdowns when either the games get late or has that ability to bust a big play, which we have not seen from him yet so far this year. But like an expectation of like 5, 6, 7 touches week in, week out, and each targets week in and week out, and every target being worth 2.8 carries makes him essentially the role that Alvin Kamara has had, albeit on a worse team, but the same exact role. Alvin Kamara, we're used to being 7,800 to 9,500 on DraftKings. I'm getting DeAndre Swift in a very similar type role in terms of his deployment, 12 to 15 carries, 5 to 10 targets every single week. Rams are a really tough defense. They are favored by a metric ton of points this week. But DeAndre Swift, to me, projects as a very good value play with a solid floor. We're playing head-to-head and access to a ceiling if he can find his way into the painted area. For 6K, gives me the flexibility I want with the rest of this lineup.
Yeah, I love Swift. He was a guy that I was definitely considering. He was near the top of my board. Like you said, you don't love playing running backs on losing teams, but Swift is kind of the exception because more of his value comes through the air than it does on the ground, and the targets are definitely going to be there for him. So I like that pick a lot.
Thank you. On to you.
Okay. I am going to go with Darrell Williams. With CEH out, he's the lead back here for Kansas City. He got most of the work last week. McKinnon mixed in a little bit, but he's going to get a lot of work on the ground, a good amount of work through the air. KC has one of the highest totals on the slate. They are close to a touchdown favorite, so there's the chance for some extra rushing towards the end of the game here. And he was a lot cheaper last week, but his price really has still not gone up that much, 5.8K. And so I'm going to lock in Darrell Williams.
He outsnapped. Now, this is a weird way to put this, I suppose. Last week in week 6, Darrell Williams outsnapped Clyde Edwards-Helaire at any point through weeks 1 through 5. Edwards-Helaire was kind of peaking at like 72-75% of the snaps and running back touches, with Darrell Williams being sprinkled in there, and then they'd throw like jet one pass a game. Daryl Williams played like 84% of the snaps and got 84% of the touches after replacing Clyde Edwards-Helaire after he had left that previous game and running 75% of the snaps in that game. So a lion's share of the Chiefs offense, and he touched the ball a ton last week, even though he's inefficient in that game. A lot of usage in that spot. I think that there's a thing that I can do here. It's going to be tough. God, I don't know if I'm going to, all right, I can totally do this. All right. There's 2 tight ends that I really like this week. Okay. There's 2 tight ends that I really like this week. And I don't know that I need the savings to come all the way down to like where the other one is. So I'm going to lock in Mike Gesicki with as many routes as he's been running and all the injuries. Okay. Mike Gesicki is not, over the years, and all apologies to Mike Gesicki when I say this, has not shown to be a really, really great football player while being a ridiculous athlete, right? Like he's a ridiculous athlete playing football, but not a great football player who is a ridiculous athlete, right?
Yep.
But volume over everything. And with Will Fuller being out and Devontae Parker missing time and them having to rely on Jalen Waddle as much as they're relying on Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki has quietly put up a really, really solid season, but his price on DraftKings has not come up to match the volume, at least at the position, when you consider all of the other tight ends that are priced above him, like Darren Waller, Andrews, Pitts, and even Hawkinson at 400 more. Gesicki's running as many routes, and he's being lined up outside and can also beat cornerbacks when he's lined up in the slot or wide, where a lot of tight ends can't do that, like Pitts for the first 5 weeks of the season. And he's just getting so many targets that it just makes sense for me to go after this guy against Atlanta in what could be one of the more sneaky shootouts on this small 10-game slate. So I think that putting Gesicki in here, there's cheaper options at tight end for sure. I think I'm getting a premium tight end at a sub 5K price that allows me to do exactly what I want with the rest of this.
Yeah, I like Gesicki. Your point about volume is well taken, especially if Devontae Parker misses again. The target share is going to be there, and this projects as one of the fastest paced games on the slate. So just in terms of like raw number of plays being run, there's probably going to be a lot. So yeah, I can see that for sure.
All right, back to you. I have 5,900 remaining, 23,900 remaining for all of my slots, including a defense.
Say that one more time. How much do you have left?
So I have a defensive spot. I have a defense, a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a flex. I have 23,900 remaining, 5,975 per player.
Got you. Okay, so how do I want to do this? Okay, I am going to
talk us through it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what position is smartest to take here. I kind of want to take a running back, but I think there's 2 I'd be comfortable with. I don't really want to take a quarterback, but I do think that there's one quarterback that makes like a lot of sense this week. Tight end, I think I know who I'm going to take, but you just took one, so I don't need to take a tight end right now. But then if I take a wide receiver, I'm really kind of limiting what I can do at other spots. So it's probably a mistake, but I'm going to take the quarterback now. Just that way I have that done. I don't have to wind up having to spend more for a quarterback later. I'm going to take Derek Carr.
Okay. 6,000 for Derek Carr.
6,000 for Derek Carr. He projects really well this week for me. My system is very high on this game in general, and I think there's a few reasons for it. First, Philadelphia plays at the fastest pace of any offense in football, and so this is a really good pace-up spot for Vegas. They play at home. They play in a dome, so there's no wind to have to worry about, so that's a good thing. Vegas has been both of these teams have actually been quite pass heavy. Philadelphia in particular, which should again help with the pace, help with getting Vegas the ball back. But Vegas has been playing more pass heavy than normal. And last week without Gruden, they played at a little faster pace. And I just think between the pace of this game, between the potential pass heavy nature of it, between the good conditions, in terms of weather and in terms of the pricing. I think there's a lot of really good values, probably sneaky values in this game. And Carr just projects really, really well for his price. And so I'm going to lock him in. He's also just like an underrated quarterback. Like he's a legitimately good, maybe borderline great quarterback. He has actual weapons to throw to this year. And I don't think people realize how good Derek Carr actually is. And so especially if there's going to be the volume component also, I feel pretty good about him in this spot.
Yeah, Derek Carr, one of the underpriced quarterbacks, at least based on how he's performed this year, at only $6K, does not offer you very much rushing upside, right? But like, when you're as efficient as he's been with 2 touchdowns in every game except one against Chicago, and we kind of know what was going on in the locker room during that week 5 Sunday when they kind of just shut down on their coaching staff, and then right back to it, 341 and 2 touchdowns in week 6 against a very tough Denver defense in its own right. So Derek Carr, Henderson, you got all the Dereks. You got Derek Carr, you got Darrell Henderson, you got Darrell Williams, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks. Very solid lineup for you to start. I don't have to pick a quarterback, just like you don't have to pick a tight end, although I could go 2 tight end. I don't think it's necessary, especially not with my build. There's 2 ways that I can go here, and I haven't yet decided. And it's a problem because it's my freaking pick at this point.
It's a lot of pressure when you're trying to figure out like how to juggle everything. And
like, I could do weird things at this point. Like I can't do that, but like I could do some weird things at this point. And it kind of comes down to like a one or the other situation for me. And like, I don't think matchups matter when it comes to certain players, right? Now, yes, there's DVP. Yes, there's, you know, they're noisy in this spot. You know, they're not noisy in the other spot, but like volume over everything and talent plus volume, plus what is a pretty good matchup and at home. Give me Derrick Henry at 9,200 in this spot against Kansas City in the highest totaled game on the slate. I've said I don't like taking running backs on teams that are supposed to be playing from behind, but like, again, Derrick Henry is not human. He is an alien that has come to us from another galaxy to play running back at a freakishly large size and a impossibly fast speed once he gets moving. And Kansas City has been that very movable object on defense, and I would love to see Derrick Henry running the ball downhill or touching it 25 times. And when you consider how, look, we're not getting 4 targets a game on average, which was on my wish list for this season for Derrick Henry. Just throw him 1 screen pass a quarter. That equals 4 targets. That gets us all the value we need. But like, nobody has as good a floor of targets. Nobody has as solid an outlook in terms of inside the 5 carries, inside the 5 touches, anytime that they get close. Probably the best expectation for a 100-yard bonus on this week's slate at running back. Give me Derrick Henry. I'll plug him into my flex. That locks me in. There was a different route that I could go. I kind of flashed it at chat for just a second. But I'm going with this. And I'll ride or die with a wide receiver that I can find in the mid-range.
All right. Geez, I'm trying to figure out how to make pieces fit at this point. I feel like there's not like another clear wide receiver to take. I feel like there's a bunch of guys at a few different kind of price points that could fit depending on what else you do here. I feel like there's 2 running backs that I really like. One of them feels too gross, but he's the cheaper one. And so like, do I just go with him or do I try to lock in the one I like better, but then I wind up having to play a gross wide receiver?
See, that's why I just said F it and went with Derrick Henry. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going with Derrick Henry.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard. Chubba Hubbard, however you pronounce his name.
It's Chuba, but we call him Chumbawamba because he gets knocked down, then he gets up again.
Oh, I love that. So I'm going to go with Chumbawamba here.
Mm-hmm.
Without McCaffrey, like he's been getting almost all of the volume, except for the first week when Rodney Smith was super involved in the pass game, but he's been released. He's off the team. Hubbard's been getting a lot more of the pass volume since then. And well, I guess a couple other things. One, they're actually a favorite this week because they're playing the Giants. So it's like a slight good game script for him. And the Panthers came out this week and they said, you know what, even though we don't have Christian McCaffrey, we still want to try to establish the run harder. We want to run the ball more than we have been. And that would mean good things for Chumbawamba here. So I think I'm going to go with him. I think the price is too cheap. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my team at this point. I still have to figure that out, but I like him enough where I'm just going to lock him in and then figure it out later.
Wide receiver, tight end, and defense remaining. You have 11,100 on the board. I've got 14,000. I have a lot of money left. You can't block me at QB.
Nope.
You can block me at wide receiver or defense. I kind of don't know if the wide receivers in the range that I'm thinking about are all that much different than the other ones. You know, I don't think that like any of the receivers that we're going to pick in the range that I think we're picking from are difference makers or standout values on this slate. So I think I'm going to go for a defense here. Something I don't normally do is try and attack a defense in this spot. It's going to suck. Like it's going to be one of these defenses that is somewhat cheap and is going to make chat cringe. And I know that the YouTube comments are going to be very upset with me no matter which defense I take. But like, I'm willing to roll the dice on a defense that has high variance, right? Like you can get up here and you can pick a defense that you think is, you know, the quote safer defenses on the slate, right? But like, I could also just kind of roll the dice with something cheaper, but I don't even know if I need it. Like looking at how much money I have left, I think I can get away with just playing a solid defense in this spot. So like, Arizona Cardinals at 3,100 against Houston. As much as I agree with you, and I do love Brandon Cooks week in, week out. Like it's the draft day movie line, right? You know, Brandon Cooks no matter what in tournaments because just too many targets, right? But Mills turns the ball over a ton, and the Cardinals can place an awful lot of pressure on an opposing quarterback. Do project to play from ahead. Are playing at home. Love that defensive line, and I like the upside here because pressure over everything when it comes to selecting a defense. There's a couple other cheaper defenses that I was considering. I'll just talk about them for the chat's sake. Like I like the Giants defense at this price. I think the Titans defense is going to be really overlooked at 2,100. As many turnovers as Kansas City has had and as much pressure as they're allowing on Patrick Mahomes. Points against don't really matter. Sacks and fumbles and turnovers are what matters for defenses, and taking those dice rolls to try and get upside at those positions. And saving that salary can get you locked into something other here. But like based on my roster build, I've got 11,600 left for a quarterback and a wide receiver. More than enough. I'll be all right. I'm going to run it back to you for your wide receiver, tight end, or defensive pick.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense for me to pick a tight end or defense at this point because you know, you can't block me on that. You're already locked in, so I will save them for last. So wide receiver. I don't love the options that I'm left with here. I think I'm deciding between the two Eagles wide receivers, between Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor, and that's going to determine whether I can get a decent tight end or whether I have to punt and get a really gross, crappy one. But I've mentioned how much I like this game environment for Philadelphia. I like how pass heavy they've been this year. I like the dome. I like the pace of this game. I like the target shares of both of these guys for their prices. With Zach Ertz out of the picture now, obviously Dallas Goedert is going to get a boost, but you know, there's going to be some other targets to sprinkle around the rest of the team. Geez. I'll go with the cheaper one. I'll go with Jalen Reagor, and then that will get me a better tight end. And yeah, that's what I will do. I don't feel as good about him as I do about Smith, who's the clear alpha here, but I mean, Reagor has gotten 15% of the targets this year fairly consistently, running the second most routes on the team. The game environment's really good. The price is too cheap, I think, for what the potential is here.
And look, a guy that I think has a lot of talent and just hasn't busted out, Jalen Reagor. I've liked him since pre-draft month last year. Loved the spot that he landed. Obviously was picked ahead of Justin Jefferson. Just hasn't had it all come together for him in that offense for one reason or the other, whether it's on him or whether it's on the offense. So I'm going to kind of check this back to you because I have two spots that you can't block me at. And so if I've got one guy in DeAndre Swift that is making people go Pinkman, you know, the Pinkman meme from Breaking Bad, he can't keep getting away with this. I'm going to also take the other guy who can't keep getting away with this in Jalen Hurts. 26.2 DraftKings points per game, sub 7K, again, running the ball 8+ times a game. As many points as he's adding on the ground, his path to 20 DraftKings points on a week in, week out basis is so much easier. And now he gets Las Vegas's defense, who, yeah, they can pressure, they can do some things. But if he is to throw 1 or 2 passes for touchdowns this week, he's going to absolutely smash that 20-point mark again. Love running quarterbacks for high floor. I could have gotten up to Lamar, who I also like in this spot, but we'll see how that goes if I'm going to make a mistake in this spot, because it would have put me on a lineup that I wasn't really happy about. So I'm going to pay down a little bit from where Lamar is and go to Jalen Hurts in this spot.
Yeah, I like that. Obviously, I love this whole game environment. So Hurts is an awesome play.
Thank you.
That makes it weird to try to pick the next guy that I was going to pick. I'm just going to do it anyway.
Right.
I'm going to pick Dallas Goedert. I think for a lot of the same reasons you like Gesicki, I like Goddard. I think he's potentially like a high-end tight end that we're getting for too cheap. I've talked enough about why I like this game environment. And now with Zach Ertz gone, I think the potential for Goddard to pick up a whole lot of extra movie is there, and it's not really baked into the price here. So it feels weird having 2 of your quarterbacks pass catchers, but having taken the cheaper wide receiver, my last pick, Goddard is, I think, the guy that I'm kind of locked into here.
Chat says that I have 4 running backs on my team because I added Jalen Hurts in that spot. And God, I hope so, because you have 2 of his pass catchers. So this leaves me in a really awkward void spot, right? I said that it was kind of ugly in this area where I was going to be left. Like if I had gone up to Lamar Jackson, that would have left me with 4,200, and it's an even worse spot because that would have meant that I would have had 2 Lions on my team. I'm not too excited about having 2 Lions on my team. So I decided to come down to Jalen Hurts, which leaves me at this 4,700 range. The place that I'm going to go in this spot is Darnell Mooney. 4,600. I'm not expecting a ton of passes from Chicago. I'm hoping that they throw the ball a lot more than they have, less than 20 attempts a game with their quarterback since he took over the job, Fields. And you're going to be playing from behind in this game, handsome Gase. So you're probably going to have to let the kid rip the ball downfield at least a little bit, probably throw it 30, 35 times, which means more targets this week for Allen Robinson and at least a better floor of targets for Darnell Mooney, who has seen 8, 5, and 7 the last 3 weeks since Fields took over the job. Definitely has eyes for Mooney. Also a big play receiver, and we've seen Fields challenge more downfield than Dalton challenged downfield when he was the guy. So increased market share of targets in a better game script environment for the Bears pass game offense. Give me Mooney at 4,600. He's a risk, obviously, because any Bears are a risk against Tampa Bay. But as a last man in, I don't mind it.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. He's always a little bit too cheap. The pass volume is a question, but for the price, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
All right. Your defense is going to be your last pick, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, so it looks like the defense that kind of fits with everything else I've built is the Atlanta Falcons, facing the Miami Dolphins. Decent potential. I mean, it's early in the week, but it looks like a potentially decent spot in terms of weather, a little bit windy, potentially a little bit rainy. The Dolphins are really nothing special in terms of their offense. We like the potential volume on Gesicki, but this is still, an offense that I think is going to struggle to move the ball a little bit, struggle to put up too many points on the board. We mentioned earlier, it projects as one of the fastest paced games on the slate. And so more passing volume or more dropbacks generally means more chances for sacks, more chances for interceptions, more chances for all the good stuff that really drive defensive fantasy points. And so I'm going to go with the Falcons.
So you've got the Falcons against the Fighting Tagovailoas. And the other thing about playing, you mentioned it, like you don't want to pick defense like the Tampa Bay against the Bears per se, right? Projectably, the Bears don't like to drop back and throw the ball. So there's not a lot of sack attempts, not a lot of pressure attempts. There's way less points or chances for you to score. But with the Dolphins not being able to run the ball and basically just completely abandoning it, they have to drop back a lot and throw it. Same with Philly. They have to drop back a lot and throw it, which leads to more scoring opportunities for your defense. Derek, your final lineup is Derek Carr, Darrell Henderson, Darrell Williams, Kupp, Cooks, Rager, Goddard, Hubbard, and the Falcons defense. I've got Jalen Hurts, Fournette, DeAndre Swift, Bateman, Shepard, Mooney, Gesicki, the big dog, Derrick Henry, and the Cardinals D. Thank you guys for watching. Go follow Derek on all of his socials and take a look down below if you wanted to take part in either one of our charities. And we'll check in on the recap video on the second channel next Monday to talk about all of it. So thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.